Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Saturday Night Review Series for the 5th of September 1992. This is right around the time that I, as a young person, got involved with WCW. Somewhere between August and September of that year is where my fandom truly began because we finally got cable in the house. I had seen WCW/NWA tapes, but never weekly television. So, Dick Slater, Greg Valentine, and Scotty Flamingo in a six-man tag team match. Again, this is a shortened version of the program, probably because of Braves baseball, one would assume, running at just under 40 minutes of television time. We have the Z-Man, Tom Zink, who has had his name basically removed, Marcus Bagwell, and Johnny B. Bad for the babyface team. They try to get a good bit out of the match, in all honesty. The Clash of the Champions, I believe, has already taken place. We'll get to that in a second or two, either this week or the following week. Bagwell, at the time, not having a ton of national experience. Scotty Flamingo, a.k.a. Raven, is a good hand, and I actually enjoy his Raven stuff, or his Scotty Flamingo stuff, and to a lesser degree, Johnny Polo more than the Raven character. I like the Raven promos, but Raven in the ring didn't do anything for me. And then we kind of see Bagwell with a few arm drags on Flamingo, tags off to Valentine. Valentine nails a couple of shots, including chops, and goes to work on the leg and basically gets Bagwell near his corner, but not near enough to make a tag. Backbreaker, and Valentine slows the match down as he is wont to do. Cuts the ring off on his adversary for the next several minutes. Flamingo and Slater both come in and put Bagwell through his paces. Amazing that they were really, even in 1992, pushing Bagwell as kind of a next big thing. He never got to the level that a lot of people thought he could have or would have. He did get a big push in the 96 to 2000 run with the Buff Bagwell character, but didn't exactly go according to plan. Tag off to Johnny B. Bad and Dick Slater. They go at it for a little bit. Z-Man comes in and basically does a few arm drags. Bagwell comes back in after not having his partner do too much. Cut off on Bagwell, and they beat him down for several more minutes. Obvious to me that they're trying to get a good bit of time out of this match. Amazing to me, too, is that WCW was smart enough and intelligent enough not to take commercial breaks in the middle of matches. Where that died in the last 30 years, I do not know. Maybe television networks have changed their expectation of advertisements. I don't know what the deal is, but suffice to say, certainly not a fan of taking breaks mid-match if it can be avoided, and I believe it could be if they actually cared. Anyway, all six men come into the ring and brawl around. Not a match you have to go out of your way to see, but really basic storytelling. Babyface is getting guzzled up by the heels here, and certainly without a doubt, a referee could have easily called for disqualification at any point. Doesn't. Drop kick under the chin, and a roll up by the Z-Man on Flamingo, of all people, gets the victory. Cactus Jack talks about bringing in Butch Reed to team with the Barbarian and to go after Ron Simmons. I didn't even remember Reed being here, so he can't be here for a terribly long time. And then we go, and Cactus also talks about a third member to their trio eventually coming in. Reed and the Barbarian are here. Barbarian, from a clipped version, gets a pin over Barry Windham, who is teaming with Dustin Rhodes. Their team eventually breaks up around November or so, but we don't necessarily see that at first. Anyway, Barbarian with basic choking and punch kick work on an enhancement talent. Barbarian still looking like $1,000,000 because they are getting him ready for a championship match. I believe at Halloween Havoc, if I remember correctly. Clothesline to the back of the head doesn't look very friendly either. Anyway, Barbarian goes to town in this manner and snaps the man over. Cranks on the head a bit, doesn't get everything he wants out of it. Gets enough, though, and the Barbarian is in what one would easily say is pretty complete control. Hits a big boot along the way, gets a victory there. As we approach the almost halfway point of the program, Jim Ross does some more promotional work. We see clips from the Clash of the Champions, which did take place. Vader taking on the Steiner brothers and taking them out pretty well. Eventually, when they go up on the Peacock Network, I will be bringing back the wonder of the review for the WCW Clash Champions. They're not on the network to my knowledge, but eventually do that. There is a spot where Rick Steiner is a monster who sends Vader over with a belly-to-belly suplex, and then the Super Invader, a.k.a. Hercules, gets double underhook suplex by Scott Steiner. Steiners were beasts in 92 through 94. Actually, through about 90, well, maybe 95, but Steiner's virtually unstoppable there. The cutoff on the main event, they, do more highlights. Jake Roberts comes in, Koloff lights Roberts up, doesn't get everything he wants. Roberts continues to beg off when Sting is in there. Does eventually hit a DDT on Sting, though, after a good bit of drama, and Sting takes a pinfall loss to Jake Roberts' team. Roberts and Sting do go to battle at Halloween Havoc at the end of October, and that is the final bit of Jake Roberts we see. So think about basically a 3-month run there. They promote Halloween Havoc right after this. Steiners are covering a match here, and again, the Steiners are an amazing team that virtually anybody with even a quarter of a brain would enjoy. There is a new, I guess you'd say, trio. Michael Hayes managing the team of Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton. So I guess the Dangerous Alliance by this point has been completely eliminated, although they didn't officially announce it on TV that I recall, at least not on Saturday night from what I've seen. But basically, if Hayes is part of the team, then there you go. They give them basically the rest of the show. Amazing match, worth going out of your way to see. Steiners and Anderson and Eaton. Of course, the idea that the announcers spend pushing the entire match, which, by the way, basic takeovers and the like by Steiner on Anderson to start the match. Basic idea that's pushed is the Horsemen, the Midnight Express, and the Freebirds. 3 teams of the 80s all coming together to formulate a new conglomerate trio. Would have been really good for the 6-man tag belts if they still existed. Anyway, Arn Anderson backs off and goes heads up with Scott Steiner, works the arm for a bit. Steiner uses power. Anderson uses finesse and technical prowess. Steiner takes Anderson down. Anderson does more than his fair share in the match, so I don't know if maybe Bobby Eaton was hurt or something, or maybe the story of the entire match was that Anderson was going to get worked over for several minutes, but the Steiners do work over his leg for at least 3 or 4 minutes, and Anderson continues to come up short. Back leg trip by Rick Steiner. Steiner actually executes a half grab, which to me is interesting for a variety of reasons, including it's very rare to see Rick Steiner use, or Scott Steiner until his late days with the Steiner recliner. Rare to see the Steiners use a submission hold during this period. Bobby Eaton finally does come in, takes Scott Steiner to the corner, and beats him down. Bobby Eaton, a guy who has vicious offense, but none of it looks goofy and none of it's overplayed. Meanwhile, Steiner with the tilt-a-whirl suplex. At the time, I was such a Scott Steiner fan. Did not like his Billy Graham knockoff stuff. after 1996 or so, but it is what it is, and a lot of people did enjoy it. So anyway, Steiner sits down in a Boston Crab. Michael Hayes is agitated at the very least at ringside. Some go behinds, and then there you go. Anderson comes back in, finds himself on the receiving end of clotheslines. Rick Steiner pacing around the ring, and the heels are on their tail and upside down in a hurry. We then follow Scott Steiner taking Bobby Eaton down for a bit. Michael Hayes upset, and they cut the ring off on Steiner a little bit. But needless to say, they really can't get everything they want to out of the aggression point here. And then we see body slam by Arn Anderson. Anderson actually helps, or tries to help, with a rocket launcher, but that ends up being Scott Steiner catching Bobby Eaton on the top rope into a power slam by Rick Steiner, which is a really cool spot. It was something I don't believe I'd seen before. Anderson and Eaton go to the floor. Steiner's still in control. Phenomenal match. Anyway, they go to the outside, do the Steiners. Michael Hayes ends up posting, I believe it was Scott Steiner, and then you see the breakdown of the match again. Scott Steiner gets taken down for several more minutes. Arn Anderson works over the arm, and they've got about, maybe 5 minutes left in the match when Scott makes the beginnings of his comeback for what seems like about the third time in the match, but comeback makes sense because of the placement of the match itself. 4 minutes left in the program, and Eaton has cut the ring off on a relatively wounded Scott Steiner. Not sure that I'd have Rick be the one making or receiving the hot tag. I'd always go with Scott because Scott's flashier, but that's just me. Eaton has cut the ring off on Steiner, and again, this is a number one contenders match. Scott Steiner goes to war with Michael Hayes on the outside. Eaton manages to drop a leg on Rick Steiner, who is the legal man. Anderson manages to roll him over. 1, 2, 3, and Anderson and Eaton, in what had to be considered an upset at the time, beat the Steiner brothers for the number one contendership. We'll be back with more right after this.